My name is Duc Nguyen, and I'm writing this during my lunch break at Deloitte Consulting in downtown Chicago, sitting alone in a corner of the company cafeteria while my colleagues gather in animated groups discussing weekend plans, office gossip, and shared experiences that I observe but never participate in, despite being one of the top-performing data analysts in my division. At 24, I have everything that should indicate professional success and social integration: an MBA from Northwestern, a prestigious consulting job, excellent performance reviews, and the respect of supervisors who value my analytical skills and work ethic. Yet I feel more isolated and invisible than I did as a shy kid in high school, surrounded by hundreds of colleagues who know my professional capabilities but have no interest in knowing me as a person. I immigrated to America when I was 8 years old with my parents, Minh and Duc Nguyen, who had fled Vietnam as refugees, and spent 3 years in Malaysian camps before being resettled in a predominantly Vietnamese neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. My childhood was spent navigating between two worlds: the Vietnamese-speaking household where my parents worked multiple jobs to establish economic stability, and American schools where I excelled academically while struggling to form social connections with classmates who seemed to operate according to cultural codes I couldn't decipher. The academic success came naturally because my parents prioritized education above all else, and because the structured, meritocratic aspects of school rewarded the study habits and discipline that Vietnamese culture had instilled in me. I graduated valedictorian from high school, earned a full scholarship to the University of Illinois for my undergraduate degree in economics, and completed my MBA at Northwestern with a specialization in data analytics that made me highly attractive to major consulting firms recruiting students with quantitative skills and diverse backgrounds. But the social aspect of American educational and professional environments remained mysterious and intimidating throughout my academic journey. In college, I lived in a library and computer labs, achieving perfect grades while eating most meals alone and spending weekends working on assignments rather than developing the friendships and social networks that seemed to form naturally for my classmates. I told myself that social isolation was temporary, that once I entered the professional world with real responsibilities and shared work objectives, meaningful connections would develop automatically through collaborative projects and common goals. The reality of corporate consulting life proved more socially challenging than college because the stakes felt higher and the cultural expectations more complex. Deloitte's culture emphasized not just analytical excellence, but also relationship building, client management, and team collaboration that required social skills I had never developed. Success in consulting depended on your ability to connect with colleagues, understand office politics, and navigate informal networks that determine project assignments, promotion opportunities, and career advancement paths. From my first day at Deloitte, I was simultaneously visible and invisible. Highly visible for my work product, analytical insights, and ability to solve complex data problems that impress partners and clients, but completely invisible as a social presence in the office ecosystem where relationships were built through casual conversations, shared lunches, after-work drinks, and weekend activities that I was rarely invited to join and wouldn't have known how to participate in, effectively even if included. The professional recognition came quickly as my quantitative skills and attention to detail made me valuable for high-stakes client projects where accuracy and analytical rigor were crucial. Partners would specifically request me for their teams. Clients would praise my presentations and recommendations, and my performance reviews consistently rated me as exceeding expectations in technical competencies and project contributions. But the same reviews would note areas for improvement in executive presence, stakeholder engagement, and team building that reflected my struggles with the social and cultural aspects of consulting work. The isolation was most apparent during the informal moments that actually determine office culture and relationship development. While my colleagues gathered around coffee machines to discuss their weekend activities, dating lives, sports opinions, and family dramas, I would listen politely, but rarely contribute because I felt like I was observing a foreign culture where the rules for participation were unclear and the risk of saying something inappropriate or culturally tone-deaf was too high to justify the attempted engagement. Lunch breaks became daily reminders of my social disconnection as groups would form organically around shared interests, cultural references, and relationship histories that predated my arrival or developed through interactions I wasn't part of. I would eat alone while watching tables full of colleagues bond over shared experiences, inside jokes, and cultural touchstones that I understood intellectually but couldn't relate to emotionally. The few times colleagues invited me to join their lunch conversations, I felt like an anthropologist studying a culture rather than a participant in social exchange. The after-work social activities were particularly challenging because they represented the informal networking that was crucial for career advancement, but required social skills and cultural knowledge that I hadn't developed. Happy hours, weekend gatherings, and office social events were where real relationship building occurred, where projects were discussed informally, where mentoring relationships developed, and where the social capital was accumulated that translated into professional opportunities. But these environments felt even more foreign and intimidating than formal work meetings. The breaking point came during a company retreat where team-building exercises and social activities were designed to strengthen relationships and improve collaboration among colleagues who worked together daily but barely knew each other personally. While other participants seemed to thrive in the structured social interaction, sharing personal stories and bonding over shared challenges, I felt completely out of place and unable to participate authentically in activities that required vulnerability and cultural fluency I didn't possess. The retreat included small group discussions where we were supposed to share personal backgrounds, career motivations, and individual challenges that affected our work performance. When it was my turn to speak, I realized that I had no idea how to present my immigrant background, family sacrifices, and cultural identity in ways that would resonate with colleagues whose life experiences were completely different from mine. I offered generic responses about enjoying analytical work and hoping to contribute to team success, responses that were professional but revealed nothing authentic about who I was or why I was there. That evening, during the retreat social hour, I watched my colleagues form natural conversation groups, share personal stories, and develop connections that I knew would translate into stronger working relationships and career opportunities. I spent most of the evening standing awkwardly on the periphery of conversations, occasionally offering professional observations, but never finding entry points for genuine personal connection. When I returned to my hotel room that night, I realized that despite being surrounded by colleagues for 3 days, I felt more isolated than ever. The realization that professional success wasn't translating into social belonging or authentic workplace relationships forced me to confront patterns of isolation that characterized my entire American experience. I was achieving externally measurable success while remaining completely disconnected from the social and cultural aspects of American professional life that were necessary for long-term career advancement and personal satisfaction. The psychological toll became apparent when I started avoiding optional work events, declining invitations to social gatherings, and eating lunch at my desk rather than in common areas where casual interaction might occur. The isolation was creating anxiety about social situations that made it even harder to participate naturally when opportunities arose. I was trapped in a cycle where social anxiety led to avoidance, which increased isolation, which intensified anxiety about future social interactions. The turning point came when I was passed over for a promotion despite having the strongest technical qualifications among the candidates. My supervisor explained that while my analytical skills were outstanding, the promotion required leadership capabilities and relationship-building skills that hadn't been demonstrated in my interactions with colleagues and clients. The feedback was devastating because it confirmed that professional advancement required social competencies that I had never developed and didn't know how to acquire. That conversation motivated me to seek help from Dr. James Park, a Korean-American therapist who specialized in working with high-achieving Asian professionals who struggle with workplace social integration and cultural navigation challenges. He helped me understand that my isolation wasn't a personal failing, but a common experience among first-generation Americans who excel academically and professionally while struggling with social aspects of American workplace culture. You've mastered the technical requirements of professional success, Dr. Park explained during one of our sessions, but you haven't learned the cultural skills that are equally important for career advancement and personal satisfaction in American work environments. These skills can be learned, but they require the same intentional practice and development that you apply to your analytical capabilities. The therapy process involved analyzing my social interactions, identifying specific skills and strategies that can improve my ability to connect with colleagues, and practicing approaches to workplace relationship building that felt authentic to my personality and cultural background. Dr. Park helped me understand that I didn't need to abandon my cultural identity or become someone completely different. But I did need to develop bridge-building skills that could translate my authentic self into interactions that resonated with colleagues from different cultural backgrounds. One of the most important insights was understanding that many of my colleagues were also interested in meaningful professional relationships, but didn't know how to connect with someone whose cultural background and life experiences were so different from their own. My isolation was partly self-imposed through avoidance and assumptions about others' lack of interest, when in reality some colleagues were genuinely curious about my perspective and background, but didn't know how to initiate those conversations without risking cultural insensitivity or awkwardness. The practical strategies involved identifying colleagues who seemed most approachable and interested in authentic connection, then gradually developing individual relationships through shared professional interests, work-related conversations that could evolve into personal connection, and small social interactions that felt manageable and authentic. Instead of trying to integrate into large group dynamics immediately, I focused on building one-on-one relationships that could eventually provide entry points into broader social networks. I started by accepting lunch invitations from Sarah, a fellow analyst who had consistently been friendly and inclusive in her interactions with me. Our initial conversations focused on work projects and industry trends, but gradually evolved into discussions about career goals, educational backgrounds, and personal interests that reveal commonalities despite our different cultural origins. Sarah became an informal cultural interpreter who could explain office dynamics, social expectations, and unwritten rules that I had been missing. The relationship development required intentional vulnerability and sharing personal experiences that helped colleagues understand my background and perspectives. Instead of keeping my immigrant story private, I started sharing appropriate aspects of my family's refugee experience, my parents' sacrifices for my education, and my navigation of cultural differences that shaped my approach to work and relationships. These conversations help colleagues see me as a complete person rather than just an analytical resource. I also joined the company's Asian professional network, which provided a supportive community of colleagues who understood similar challenges of cultural navigation while also offering opportunities to contribute to diversity and inclusion initiatives that could improve workplace culture for other minorities facing similar isolation. The network activities provided structured social interactions that felt more comfortable than unstructured socializing, while also building relationships with colleagues who shared some cultural understanding. The transformation in my workplace relationships was gradual but significant as colleagues began seeking my input not just on technical questions, but also on broader strategic issues where my perspective and cultural background provided valuable insights. I was included in more informal discussions, invited to social events, and began developing mentoring relationships with senior colleagues who appreciated both my analytical skills and my growing ability to communicate and connect with diverse stakeholders. The promotion opportunity came 18 months later, when I was selected for a senior analyst position that recognized both my technical capabilities and my improved leadership and relationship building skills. The promotion interview process allowed me to demonstrate how my cultural background and analytical skills combine to provide unique value for clients seeking to understand diverse markets and customer perspectives. Today, I work as a senior data analyst leading projects for multinational clients where my cultural competency and relationship building skills are valuable assets rather than professional limitations. I mentor other Asian American consultants who are navigating similar challenges of technical excellence combined with social integration, and I participate in company diversity initiatives that help create more inclusive workplace cultures for minorities who might otherwise remain professionally successful but socially isolated. The experience taught me that workplace belonging requires intentional effort from both minorities seeking inclusion and majority colleagues willing to build authentic cross-cultural relationships. Social integration doesn't happen automatically through professional proximity, but requires vulnerability, cultural bridge-building skills, and supportive communities that can provide guidance and encouragement during the relationship development process. Key resources and solutions that made the difference. Professional therapy with culturally competent counselors who understand the intersection of cultural identity and workplace social dynamics helps minorities develop authentic relationship-building strategies. Employee resource groups and professional associations for minorities provide supportive communities and structured networking opportunities that can serve as entry points into broader workplace social integration. Communication and leadership development programs, specifically designed for minorities, help develop cultural bridge-building skills while maintaining authentic cultural identity. Mentorship programs that pair high-achieving minorities with senior professionals provide guidance on navigating workplace culture and building strategic relationships for career advancement. Diversity and inclusion initiatives that address both explicit barriers and subtle social exclusion help create workplace environments where minorities can thrive socially as well as professionally. Cultural competency training for all employees helps majority colleagues develop skills for building authentic relationships across cultural differences and creating inclusive team dynamics. Professional coaching services specializing in workplace integration help minorities identify specific social skills and strategies that can improve relationship building without compromising cultural authenticity. Workplace social activities and team building programs that intentionally include diverse perspectives and cultural backgrounds help create more inclusive social environments for all employees. Today, when I meet other minorities who are professionally successful but socially isolated in their workplaces, I tell them that authentic relationship building requires vulnerability and intentional effort, but it's possible to maintain cultural identity while developing the social connections that are crucial for career advancement and personal satisfaction. The goal isn't to become someone different, but to develop bridge-building skills that help colleagues see your authentic self and appreciate the unique perspective and value you bring to the workplace. Professional success without social belonging is incomplete, and both are achievable with the right strategies and support systems.